Hello. So after I got done in my last video explaining very carefully to you about how I only buy books that are very special to me or that I think I'm going to love or something like that, and otherwise I tend to frequent the library, I decided to break my own rule and I took a trip to half-price books. Don't judge me. So yeah, let's go over and see what I bought at half-price books. Okay, first up, all right, you guys are gonna have a little laugh, but do remember it was half-price books. I purchased John Grisham's The Client, circa what, 93 maybe? What do you guys think? What do we think the date is in this? 1993, oh my gosh. Come on, that was a fantastic guess. So honestly, I don't think I've ever read a John Grisham book. I feel like I associate John Grisham with the 90s, and I was in high school / middle school at the time. In 1993, I was 12. So not the kind of things that I was reading at the time, but he was super popular back in the 90s, and I have to think that his books probably hold up. I remember liking the movie again in the 90s, so I don't really remember what happened. But the very opening line is, or at least on the back, a U.S. senator is dead. So yeah, we're gonna read this. If you watched my September TBR, by the way, you will note that not a single book that I purchased is on my TBR. So I bought these for fun. I will read them eventually. Okay, next up, Lethally Blonde by Kate White, author of Over Her Dead Body. Yeah, I don't know, but it just seemed a little bit ridiculous. I love the movie Legally Blonde, but I have a feeling that these don't have anything to do with each other. But anyway, it looked like fun, and maybe a little bit ridiculous. Let's see, Entertainment Weekly says it's smart, stylish. Sex and the City meets dirt. I mean, that sounds awful, right? That sounds awful. So we're definitely gonna read that eventually. Okay, next up. Okay, let's talk about James Patterson, kind of the OG, or, you know, the king of, I don't know, thrillers, mysteries, that kind of thing. My mom is a big fan. I know one of the things that my mom really likes about James Patterson books is that the chapters are short. So that's a chapter right there, guys. There is a chapter, looks like maybe 2 pages altogether. But you know, you feel like you're making progress. I will admit, sometimes I'm reading a book and the chapters are so long and you just feel like, you know, you're like, I need a break. I'll just read this chapter. And the chapter's like 20 pages and you feel like you're never gonna make it. Yeah, I don't think you have that problem with James Patterson. So I picked up this one. It's called First Case. It sounds like the first book in a series. So I know that James Patterson tends to write, if not series, like continuations. I don't know if series is the right word. I think about a series like something like Harry Potter, where, you know, it's one book, then the next book, then the next book. Whereas his books, I feel like, are more, you know, the same detective. It feels more like Agatha Christie with, what's that guy's name? Poirot. I think Poirot is her detective, where it's just a new detective story for that particular lead author, as opposed to you have to buy the next book to find out what actually happens. But I don't know, because I am no James Patterson expert. I have read exactly one James Patterson book, and it is the one that he wrote with Bill Clinton. I got it out of the library at a complete whim. It was one of those sitting at the counter, the checkout counter situations. But I did actually really like it. Funny story, my mom did not. And she is the one who likes James Patterson. So, yeah, we're gonna give this one a go. I have no idea. Have you guys read it? First Case, James Patterson. Have you guys read it? What do you think? Well, we'll find out. All right, next up. Ooh, this one's fun. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So I've seen a lot of Sherlock Holmes movies and TV shows. I've never read a Sherlock Holmes book. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a go too. I think they're all short stories, right? Relatively short stories. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've actually never read one. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I don't know, 1800s? When did he write these? In the 1800s, right? I mean, published in 2020, not indicative of the original publishing date. This is not a first edition, in case anybody was wondering. Yeah. Okay. Now, next up, In Cold Blood, Truman Capote. So, on November 15th, my birthday, 1959, not my birth year, to be very clear, in case you were wondering, not born in 1959. In the small town of Holcomb, Kansas, 4 members of the Clutter family were savagely murdered by blasts from a shotgun, held a few inches from their faces. There was no apparent motive for the crime, and there were almost no clues. As Truman Capote reconstructs the murder and the investigation that led to the capture, trial, and execution of the killers, he generates both mesmerizing suspense and astonishing empathy. In Cold Blood is a work that transcends its moment, yielding poignant insights into the nature of American violence. So yeah, this is it's a true crime story. I've never read anything by Truman Capote. I know, you know, he was supposed to be a big deal and whatnot. I feel uneducated referring to him that way, but it is, yeah, I've never seen, it's got a picture of Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Capote on the cover. It is a sticker. It's not originally on the book cover, which is funny. I know who Philip Seymour Hoffman was more than I know things about Truman Capote. I watched this series some years ago, and what was the name of that series? Oh, A Crime to Remember. The name of the series was A Crime to Remember. If you ever come across it, I can't remember what it was on. Amazon maybe? Or Netflix? I don't remember. I don't think it was. It was on, maybe it was on cable. I don't remember. Anyway, if you ever come across A Crime to Remember, fantastic. If you are interested in history and also true crime, watch it immediately. But there was an episode about a woman in New York. I cannot remember her name right now. Her husband died mysteriously. Did she kill her husband? I think she did kill him. But it was a question of, was it self-defense? Something like that. And she had been poor. I think she was from Kansas, definitely viewed as a social climber. I'm sorry that I can't give you more details, but I just can't really remember. But I remember that Truman Capote had written an article about her that was just brutal, like scathing. You know, and she was, I think she was acquitted of the crime, but, or of murder, but, yeah, just completely outcast from friends, family, society, etc. And Truman Capote was particularly nasty. And I always had a little bit of a bad feeling about him after that. Not saying that she didn't deserve it. I don't know really enough to say that she did or didn't. But just, he probably didn't know either, to be honest, and was, yeah, kind of using, I felt like he was using her status to further his own status, and that gave me a really nasty feeling. But all that being said, this has been in my Amazon wish list for a couple of years now, and I happened to see it at Half Price Books, so I went ahead and picked it up. I'm going to try and give it a fair chance, and not let my feelings, my not even well-developed feelings about Truman Capote. It's literally based on that one story that I saw in one TV show that just kind of left a bad feeling for me. But anyway, we're going to give this one a go. Anybody read it? Truman Capote? Want to tell me about how amazing he is and how horrible it is that I don't know anything about him? Anybody? No? Okay. All right, next up. All right. The 10 worst serial killers. I hate it. I hate book titles like this, or article titles or something like this because it sounds like everybody else is just sweet and hunky-dory. And to be fair with you, I don't always agree with these people. I know who this guy is, John Christie. I have a biography of John Christie right there, in case those of you are interested. John Christie, awful, awful dude. Do I think he was one of the 10 worst serial killers who ever lived? Nope, I don't. But pretty awful. 10 worst to ever walk the, 10 of the worst criminals ever to walk the earth. John Christie, awful guy. Doesn't crack the top 100 in my opinion. Now, that being said, he is an interesting fellow. If you don't know anything about John Christie, he was a serial killer in England, 40s and 50s, maybe 1940s and 50s. He is actually one of the figures that was really instrumental in getting the death penalty outlawed in England. It sounds counterproductive to say that, but spoiler alert, he killed a family, a wife slash mother and a small child that were living in his building, and framed the husband. The husband was executed for the murders. And it wasn't until years later that it came out that John Christie was the actual murderer and was the primary witness against him, by the way, in the trial. So on that basis, maybe you could call him the 10 worst, but in terms of victim count, no, not even close. So I'm not going to tell you I think he's a good guy, but anyway, I bought it because I want to be ruthless about it. That's really why I bought it. Stupid reason to buy a book? I don't know, but that's why I bought it, so that I could rip it apart later. Okay, and last but not least, The Art of Investigative Interviewing, 2nd edition. So I'm always really interested in the criminal justice system. I think I mentioned in my last video that I'm going to be taking, or that I am taking a history class at the community college, just again, for fun, because that's what I do for fun. And I'm thinking next semester I might take a criminal justice class. Well, we're going to see how this class goes first, but I really do enjoy learning. I'm obviously interested in crime. I'm interested in serial killers, crime documentaries and things like that. That's pretty much 90% of what I watch on TV. So yeah, this sounds like it's really interesting. And then also just not only from a criminal standpoint, but just for my own understanding of, I interview people at work from time to time. Don't want to treat them, I don't want to scare them, but just reading body language and knowing when people are lying to you and things like that, I think are really interesting. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping I can gain some insights from this book. So there you go. That is everything that I bought at Half Price Books. I think I spent, sorry, I dropped the receipt on the floor, a total of $52.60 for my, 7 books. So I will be honest, Half Price Books is never as cheap as I want it to be. I want it to be like full-blown thrift store prices. And I'm never as impressed with the pricing as I think I'm going to be. With that being said, I understand they have to stay in business, so I'm not mad about it or anything. But I see this even like on Amazon sometimes, where it's like, you can buy this new book for $9.99, or you can buy a used copy for $8.99. It's like, okay, for the extra $1, I'm just gonna buy the new book, right? It has to be worth it. It has to be worth it for me to take a gamble on a used copy. So yeah. Anyway, there you go. Please leave comments down below if you've read any of these books, or you have any thoughts on the authors. What do you think about Sherlock Holmes? What do you think about James Patterson? Did I pick up good buys? Please remember to subscribe and like this video. And as always, have fun, be safe, and don't murder anybody. All right, thanks.